One, two, one, two.
We like to record stuff so we can have people know what we're doing.
All right, welcome. Welcome out to Motivating Monday. We're going to get through. We will get through.
One, two.
With or without microphones.
One, two.
Check 1, 2.
One, two.
Thank you guys for holding it down last couple weeks. I've been moving and shaking with these kids, taking them back to college. Eartha held it down. Our different tight-knit family held it down. Appreciate y'all. It's the first time you guys are listening online. This is the Motivating Monday podcast. And tonight we have some special guests in the house. I wanted to share something just real quick, just a reminder. I'm just going to vent real quick. Talking about, I always talk about my kids, talk about my family. And my daughters, the good news is, one's in medical school and 2 of them are going down to HBCUs. And so we took Spencer week before last down to Clarke, Atlanta. And that went pretty smooth. The HBCUs are now overcrowded because of the housing. And I imagine it's going to only get worse because, we finally going to HBCUs because the white schools are, doing what they're doing. But the thing I think that's apparent in our HBCUs, in our black church, in our black organizations is we were just talking about this, we have to pivot. Miss Tina can't be in charge of housing anymore. Miss Tina, because she's been doing it for 30 years, can no longer be in charge of housing. It's the same way with our kitchens, and we're running into just a lot of problems because the HBCUs aren't equipped to handle this influx of people, and it's unacceptable because they're expensive.
Yeah.
It's not like you're paying less to send your child. We basically want to send our kids to HBCUs. All our kids go to HBCUs, but these issues are crazy. And it's not all the HBCU's fault, our community. We all have skin in the game. If you're not raising your kids right, then somebody's going to face the fallout of that. You can do you can do the best job you could possibly do, but that doesn't mean other kids are raised properly. You could be the greatest person you could be, but your brother could be a mess.
Yeah.
I say all that to say, so we arrived. My daughter, my middle child, who tight-knit knows my middle child, Skylar. You guys met her. She's great. She's the sweetest person in the world. Wonderful young lady. Has not found her tribe yet. Went to a school that lacked diversity, so she didn't really find her tribe in high school. Her first roommate wasn't the best. She wasn't a bad young lady, but she had the trauma. anytime you're in court with your dad because he tried to choke you out, that pretty much tells you her drama. And then her last roommate wasn't a bad person, just wasn't a happy person.
Right.
And my daughter wasn't used to that. Somebody who suffers from depression, somebody who's fighting with their family, somebody who's just not happy. When you're at home, you're at home. So you are your true self when you're at home. So Skylar had to put up with that. So now here she is, 21, heading into this year. Our fingers are crossed that we hope that this experience is going to be finally the one that gives her a great experience on the HBCU. She meets her clique, she meets her friends. This is going to be the year. First off, housing is overcrowded, so they're staying in hotels, which that in itself, staying in a hotel with a stranger is weird.
Yeah.
That's weird for grown folks.
Yeah.
It's hella weird for young people. So when we got to the hotel, the move-in this was the move-in day. This was the day that people are moving in. The first bad sign was don't disturb signs on the door and the smell of weed and music playing. This is on move-in day.
Wow.
Young lady opens the door, stuff's all over the room. No respect for like, I have a roommate coming, somebody else is coming. Somebody had obviously been laying in Skylar's bed. items, clothes, bags were all over the place. This is the first. This is it. This is the first meeting. You know, and so sadly, you know, our hearts just dropped because we're like, yo, this ain't gonna be here either. You know, and so, you know, then the question of, and to be honest, I mean, you know, the scenario, two young people meeting up like that, that's terrible, because that could end very badly, because they're not mature enough to handle the conversation. So we basically decided, okay, we're not doing this. You know, she's been through enough. We go back to get the stuff. There's a boy in the room and a girl laying in her bed. So needless to say, we pulled her out of that situation. But and again, I'm sorry, as a part of me just wanting to vent, but also just talk about, as a community, how I think we have a tendency to, first of all, if you take care of your own household, we're proud of that, right? We're very proud of that. Take care of your family, take care of your household. But the part that I think Eartha always reminds us is that everybody's child is still your child. So you can't escape, if it's going on the blank side of town, it's going to eventually be going on your side of town. It may not be you, it may not be your kid, it may be your grandkid. It may be you going to the store, it may be you going to college, it may be, so we all have skin in the game. We all have to do what we can do to make it a better world, especially in our black community. And so I don't care if you live in Bethesda and you send your kids to the finest schools, the reality is your kids still have to mix with everybody else. And all you can hope for is that other person has the same mentality that you raised your child with. And so I think, we always talk about the talented 10th. The part that we never talk about nowadays is you can say you're a part of the talented 10th, but the assignment was you are then to help lead others. And I think that's the part where we're dropping the ball. Who gives a damn if you're a talented 10th, or you this, you got a doctorate, or you this or that? What are you doing in the community? What are you doing to make your world a better place? What are you doing for kids that have nots? What are you doing for... when I used to work in 92Q, it would break my heart because I would leave the Baltimore City schools and drive to Montgomery County. Those schools. Those schools where parents, you couldn't even get a seat at a PTA meeting. You can't get a seat on the first day of school. You can feel the teachers have pressure. The preachers got pressure, because the parents are demanding. Here, not so much. But not all the schools, but anyway, that's just the thing to start it up. Now, this young man, to start it off, he is a legend. We call him now the legendary DJ Terry T. Promoter, DJ, community dude, real dude, good guy, and just a privilege to have him with us tonight. I'm curious, because I know you as DJ Terry T. I don't know the insight. I don't know the scoop. I don't know the origin story, the beginning.
Yeah.
So Terry, welcome. Y'all welcome Terry T.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mark, for having me here. Perfect sound. I guess this process for me started off, I'm going to say 1982, on AM radio, 1400 WWIN. That's back when Curtis Anderson was on, Mac James, Lee Cross, Chuck Max. And I started with a gentleman named Virgil Sims.
I know Virgil Sims.
Yeah.
It's such a small world, as you know, Terry. Virgil, I met Virgil when I was a 20-something-year-old program director in Huntsville, Alabama. And so I see, over the years, it all blends together. You know how it is when you work in different places.
Yeah.
But I knew him back when he was with Sleeping Bag Records.
Yeah.
So back then.
And you're absolutely correct. Virgil told me that last night. Yes, I told him I had an interview with you today. And so Virgil was like one of the first promoters who put myself and the We Rock crew on a show. And back then we were doing shows like at Rhythm Skate, the Baltimore Civic Center, that's what it was called back then. Play-Doh's Wheels, 4604, and we was headlining along with Run DMC Fat Boys, LL Cool J, Houdini, Nuclears, Grandmaster Flash, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, you name it. We did shows from our city, showed up to support us, you know, and it was a lot different than what it is now, you know. And I'm always grateful for our city, for what it is, not what we make it out to be. You know, we have a great community of people here, but we only shine a spotlight on the bad apples.
Yeah.
You know, but yep, it started back in '82. It was me, I was the DJ. I had a young guy named Jeffrey G that was with me, just us two at first. And then we brought on a guy named Universe. He came from New York City, and we formed a group called the We Rock Crew. And we made records. We sold out arenas. We've done a lot of great stuff together. And we always remain humble because it's always about the people. Because in my mind, whenever you put the name DJ, promoter, MC, any of that in front of your name, you are a public servant. You know, and a lot of us forget that we're supposed to serve the public, not the public serving us. You know, so I always put the supporters first. My saying to myself is that I support the supporters. Because the supporters are the stars. They're the ones that's going to put you where you at. They're the ones who are going to put you where you don't want to be. You know, so I always stayed humble, and my greatest ticket seller is not selling a ticket, but it's to make a person walk away and forgot about the ticket, but thinking about how I made them feel during the process of while buying the ticket.
I love it, man. So Baltimore has a rich history, a rich radio history, a rich music history. So Terry, what made you want to be a DJ? And talk to us about, you know, we're celebrating the 50th, I guess, birthday of hip hop. Talk to us about Baltimore and this music scene, and then the impact hip hop had when it hit. Because I think, you know, we're around the same age. You know, we remember when it came,
Right.
And so many people were saying it ain't gonna be here. It's a trend. It's just a fad. What's your take?
So what made me get into DJing is that, you know, my mom, I had a dancing mother, you know, and thank God she's still around now, and she loved James Brown. And back then they had our Capone sets. And there was this guy who came from New York along with my brother, and he had these tapes of these guys up in New York mixing and scratching. And just the sound of it, that art caught my ear. And at that time I noticed how powerful music was. You know, it can make you dance, it can make you cry, it can make you fight, make you do all kinds of stuff. And when I put the record on one day and see my mother dancing, and I stopped it, she stopped it, put that record back, you know. And I became like fascinated with this wicked, this scratching and stuff. And I went out and got myself a pair of turntables, and I used to go to a club back then called the Stars Palace. And Richard and another guy named DJ Mixmaster Phil used to teach me how to mix. And I didn't think I was that good as a DJ. It was just that the art was amazing. And so when I started DJing and scratching, people was like, come around the turntables and like, wow, what is he doing? But to me, I wasn't that good, but to them, they were like, this is amazing. But they looked at it the same way I looked at it when I first heard it and seen it done, you know. And you're right, Mark, a lot of people were saying that the art wasn't going to last, and what is this, and, you know. And I think it was like that because it was for us.
Yeah.
You know. And that was the way how we expressed ourselves. You know, I used to call rap back then the hip-hop CNN, you know.
Yeah.
And it was all love. You know, the most dangerous we got was just, you know, back then, you get an attitude with somebody, you take it out by breakdancing.
Right. We're going to battle.
Yeah, we're going to battle. You know, you pose up and, you know, and it just started catching on. I think when it got over the East Coast, I think that's when it turned a little violent with the cursing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
We'll work it out.
yeah, we'll work it out. So did I ever think hip hop would make it this far? Absolutely. You know, because the same way when I first seen it, and I was amazed. The more and more people came to see it, became amazed.
Yeah.
You know, and when it reached other cultures and other communities, you know, the Vanilla Isis and different people, they started putting their spin on it, and we're growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And back then, as DJs, you had myself like me, DJ Spen, Frank Ski, Easy Lee. You had so many great DJs, and it was a competitive sport like it is now. But we was always friends at the end of the day. But the day, I was telling her this, that I've been gone for a long time. I came back on the scene in 2019. So it's like I came home to a mess. You know, because the same music that us, the DJs and the promoters use to bring people together, we use the same music to separate ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's sad, you know. And so I put together Terry T Productions, and my production company is to bring all sorts of people together, all sorts. I'm the first person to board Jay-Z to Baltimore. I'm the first single black promoter. I'm the first single black promoter to do an event at M&T Bank Stadium without being a corporation. And I was just told yesterday that I'm the first single black promoter to bring an international Grammy Award winner to Baltimore nightlife party.
All right. That deserves support now. I love the that's courage right there. That's courage. You ain't scared. And so, you know, one thing, Terry, that I feel bad about is, like you said, the people of Baltimore. The people are loyal. The people, if you made them feel good as you know, as a DJ, as an MC, as an artist, they support you forever. And I feel like you said, the radio stations, the promoters, the companies, they're the ones that have been disloyal. Absolutely. The people have always been there. Absolutely. The people are ready to support, but it's almost like the other entities are the ones that always mess it up. And then when that, and the public's always surprised by the change. Oh, they didn't know, you know, so and so, you know, from the radio station, they let go of their favorite personalities. Yeah. Companies let go of their favorite people. Mm-hmm. Even in bars, you know, the bartenders and the people that the public know, they come in one day and everybody's gone. What do you think effect that has on, you know, number one, talk about the loyalty of the Baltimore, of the people. Again, like you said, Lee Cross. I remember when I first got here, Lee Cross hadn't been on the radio for many years when we started, but he still got love like he was still Lee Cross on the radio. Absolutely. You know, Lee was probably in his 50s or 60s then.
So Baltimore had the most loyal supporters that I have ever met in my life. And it's based on personal relationships. So I got a personal relationship with you, and you can in turn have one with her, and you can tell her, this is a great guy, you know, go to his event, and she's going to follow up, and vice versa. Yeah. And I have, or we, the We Rock crew, has always treated the supporters the way, not the way we want to be treated, but the way we treat ourselves. You know, and to this day, people, they so amazing, like, how in the world can you come back and throw an event and have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5,000 people of 3 different generations? And it's all about relationships. Parents telling their kids, this was the guy, you know, we used to go out to see, and when they come and they get to see, because at one of my events, I'm in the toot my own horn, the energy and the environment is different. We don't come to fight.
Come to have fun.
Yeah. We come to have fun, we party, and we go home. That's it. You know, and I want to thank God for my understanding that I never had a fight at one of my events yet. And I'm talking about thousands of people. Thousands of people. And to go back to the loyalty. And when people might see an incident about to occur, an argument, they put each other in check. No, we don't do that here.
I love it.
You know, we don't do that here. And I always treat people right where they at. Everybody's problem, no matter how big or small it is a VIP issue with me. Mm-hmm. You know, and people, man, they just want to be treated fair. Man, it's tough out here. I mean, like, really tough. And for people, man, to find their budget to spend 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $60 to support my product, they are the VIP. Mm-hmm. You know, they're the most important person that's at that event.
And speaking of events, nice lead up to the event. Tell us what's going down Sunday. Terry T.
So, this man, this, you know, not sweet cookie, but Kiki from the Mono Girls, she was just reminding me on my way here that how big this thing is. Like, I don't think you realize what's happening here. And I told her, I said, I really don't, because I'm a part of the picture. We can't see the picture clearly when we're a part of it versus when we're not in it and we can look at it and see it. And Sunday, right, I'm bringing this international artist who got one of the hottest records in the world right now, right? This lady is singing a prayer. Mm. And this whole movement is spiritual. And it's miraculous how this lady sang this prayer and the people come together in unity and they doing a certain dance. Nobody doing this and that. Everybody moving the exact same way while this lady is singing this prayer. Thanks, sir. And for some reason, I got the grand idea, right, to bring this lady here. And people always ask me, how you doing this? How did you get the stadium? How did you get this artist? And I always tell them, I'm an open book, right? I suffered from the disease of addiction for 30 years. For 30 years, I suffered from the disease of addiction. And I always tell people, during that 30 years of my addiction, one thing I learned, right, is that I can do anything I put my mind to.
Come on now.
Because I did it in order to get one more. Yeah. I did it in order to get one more. And when I became done, when I stood on a made-up mind, you know, it's as if I was into something negative that gave me all the blessings of something positive. And I used the same energy to now to do what I'm doing. So when I focused, and I seen all the people how they gravitated to this lady's songs, you know, first I called. Now here's the weird thing. I called the booking agents, some of the biggest booking agents in the world, and they had a clue. They didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Mm. And I'm trying to sing the song to them. They're like, no. So I go on her Instagram page and I see on her Instagram page how to book her. And so I contacted her manager and he was asking me for a quote. And for this record to be so big, they gave me a price that blew my mind. And the booking agents were saying, well, a lot of people don't like to book African artists because the flights are so high. Mainly come from South Africa. You know, the flights like 10 and 12,000, you know, per person. Mm. You know, and there's 6 of them traveling. And And it was just something in me like, it don't matter. This is something that we need in this city right now, and we need something different, and we need something that's refreshing.
I love it.
And when I first announced it, people, they don't know her name,
Yeah, they just know the jam.
Right, they don't know her name. So when I played the song, that's when it caught fire.
Yeah.
Oh, you got this person. And it's amazing because I go out and I greet people that find like tickets and tables, I greet them. And Mr. Clarke is amazing. It brings tears to my eyes how you got Mexicans, Africans, all sorts of people. Some people can't even speak English that's buying tickets, and in different generations, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, kids, not kids, but daughters, at least 25 and over. And we putting on white that day, right? That signifies purity, right? On top of black, that signifies strength. And we taking this event to the water.
Come on now, Terry T. Come on, Reverend T. Reverend Terry T.
You got a taste of George Harrison.
Yeah.
Right. And amen. I was in the right place. I did an interview the other day on Miss Eartha Harris radio station, and this guy, it's nothing but God who put me in position at the right time to hear a plan that's been constructed around me, using me to do something I didn't even see.
Come on now.
And I know, and I'm going to tell you guys this, that as long as we stay in position and play our position, things get better without our permission.
Come on, Terry T. Terry T up here preaching, y'all. Wait a minute.
That's word.
One more time. As long as we stay in
As long as we
position.
stay in position
Okay.
and play our position, right? Let me tell you, things will get better without your permission.
Amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
That's right. Amen to the coach in the back. Coach, you agree with that? Okay,
Coach.
Coach.
Carrie, we're excited. You just put the cherry on top, man. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I just heard record executives, because of this African music, because what you just said, the way it's hitting everybody, they're now not as interested in hip hop as they are in world music. Absolutely. Because they see all the money, and like you said, it's people who don't even speak the same language. So that when you have a hit like that, it lasts forever. And it hits all the age groups, and everybody buys it. But like, I feel you, man. What you're saying with your event is there's a spiritual piece. Yeah. It's a sneaky one, too, because we're going to be clean. We're going to have a good time. Most of us don't know it's a prayer. Yeah. And we just out there dancing, having a great time. And that song seems like it will last forever because it doesn't really get old. You can hear it a million times. Yeah. It doesn't really get old. So
it doesn't get old. And a piece that I added to this is that on this event, I am recognizing Baltimore's Pioneers 50th Hip Hop Celebration, where I'm honoring them. And in doing this, T. Rowe Price reached out to me to sponsor that.
Awesome.
And then we got a call from an organization that's working with the Oreos. So Wednesday, we'll be taking the field at Camden Yards, where the Oreos will be honoring us as well.
Okay. Awesome. Congratulations, Terry T. A long time coming, much deserved. And this feels special. It really does feel special. Thank you for having the vision to put this together. Thank you for having the courage. Thank you for having the balls. Because that's what it takes.
Yes.
I mean, I would have pulled out. I don't know. I'm scared. You did it, man. So.
But you know what, Mr. Mark? I had the vision, and I had the courage, and I had the BALLS to get one more to try to kill myself.
So why not do something that's going to be better?
Why not do something about it?
I like that. Okay, now you know that needs to be in the book now, Terry. We need the book now, because that's a whole other story that we didn't share today. We have to come back and talk about that because, I mean, look at you. You said 30 years of addiction,
Absolutely.
and you look better than most of us your age.
Yeah.
That ain't nothing but God. I don't even know how that works. That's a damn shame when you think about it. You know what I mean? What is going on? Well, Terry T, thank you so much. Any final words to wrap things up?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
You mentioned the young lady, but I like it because you know exactly how to say her name. So again, say her name so people can know the artist that you talk about. Because a lot of people can't even pronounce her name, don't know what the song is about. So I want you to really hype her up and let people know exactly what it is.
Her name is Nasibo Zikodi. But if I tell her that, I pronounce it wrong. But for us, it's Nasibo Zikodi. And her song is called Jerusalem.
Yes.
Yep. And before I go, I want to thank each and every one of y'all, you know, particularly you, Mr. Clarke and Ms. Hurd, for this platform, for giving us a voice to educate us. You know, and this process will only work if we allow it to work. So,
Amen.
Again, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hurd, for having me.
Thank you, my brother.
And I wanted to ask you where you're from. I was talking earlier. Did you say where you were from, where you raised here in Baltimore?
Sure. I was raised in McCollum Projects.
Oh, I'm from
Yeah.
Richmond.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of everybody in this room, man, we salute you. I used to work with WEBB with Randy Dennis and Frank Lee, and I just left Kiki's office when she was on home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, you know, back in the day when Walker Junction, we were right there on Walker Junction, you guys are trailblazers. And we continue. So we wish you the best, that you keep on keeping on, man, because even though the music has changed, the people have, the originators have not changed. So we salute you. And we'll see you Sunday.
Yeah.
Everybody have your white on. You ready to dance? Have your white on.
Tickets $60 in advance.
We're going to get a tight knit table. Y'all see?
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to take
Tight Knit will be in VIP, that's $100 a pop.
Yeah.
Also, Terry, because earlier, you know, we have one young man.
Can y'all hear Eartha? Speak up, Eartha.
Also,
Here.
Terry, because we have a young man in the audience, again, I would like to just have going record. What advice do you have for young people? Because one of the things that I'm passionate about, and Mark knows it, and a lot of men know it, we had this huge event called the Million Man March. It was like million plus men went there, right? But we still have this struggle with the black man, even in Baltimore. So what advice would you have for a lot of the young black men in Baltimore City?
Well, me, myself, so I was raised by older parents, like my grandparents and my mom as well. And they invested in me internal values. You know, values of love, peace, honesty. So I would give the young generation the advice of watch your value system. Because a lot of things that are happening in the world now is based on misplaced value. You know, and I always say this, that if you got to wear Louis to fit in with John and Johnny, you know, you suffer from misplaced values. And that's it. I mean, rather you want to accept it or not, or believe it or not, 98, I'm going to say 99% of the world suffers from mental health. It's a mental health issue, right? When we make a conscious bad decision to do something, right? Because they say that insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results, right? But insanity is also doing the same thing over, knowing what's going to happen and do it anyway. That's a mental health issue. A mental health issue is when I'm jealous of Marc Clarke because he's helping me. That's mental health. A mental health issue is when I want to get the same shoes you wearing, so I urge you to get them. That's mental health. You know, so mental health comes in all types of forms. And if you can identify with it, you will label it anything. They crazy. But craziness is a mental health issue.
Terry T is preaching tonight. This is what we're saying. You know, every time somebody sits in that chair, you never know. You never know. So Terry, thank you for your words.
Thank you, man.
And again, we're so excited about this event. I feel you. It feels like you said, it's bigger than just being an event. This is different. This feels like you said, this was a movement. This was something that spoke to you. And so I'm just so glad that we'll be able to check it out. And I can't wait to hear the song now in person. We're going to look around, see each other. You're like, yeah, Terry, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know the steps, we can practice here before Sunday.
Yeah. I'm not going to do the steps.
I got it.
I ain't going to do the steps.
Mark, you muffled. What you just
I ain't doing the steps. I'm gonna do the Marc Clarke step. I can't do it. It's too fancy. It's too fancy. So Terry T, thanks again, y'all. Give it up for Terry T. And if you want tickets, Terry has them. Titanet's gonna do a table. We're gonna have a tent. But Terry also, if you want to purchase, Terry has them, I'm sure, or he can get you to them. And so, you know, I know it's off payday for many of us, but Friday, no joking. So get Terry. Let's support this if we can. Awesome, guys. I'm telling you, something is building. Every week, we get surprised. You know, we learn something we didn't know. And so come on up now. You come up now. Okay? Have a seat, then I'll introduce you.
give us a second.
Oh, no, it's not. Thank you, my friend. We're going to get our mics worked out. We'll be right back. Oh, that's you. Okay. Alex, what are you seeing over there?
Yeah, the box, I uncovered it, so it wouldn't heat up.
Check one. This better?
So now y'all know what y'all donations can go to. You need a double sound system. We're doing a fundraiser on September 7th.
Here, Oprah. Everything I called you Oprah. Here you go. I just called you Oprah.
How's your?
Eartha, tell them about the fundraiser. Check.
So one of the things you have to do is put one mic at a time. But guys, to solve our problem, we really doing a fundraiser kickoff on September 7th. So what I'm going to do is, Mark, you don't listen.
It's supposed to be a mixer, but it's not a mixer. Yeah.
Check one, two, check.
It's the unit.
Check 1, 2.
All
right.
Speak loud.
Okay, we'll work it out. Check 1, 2. We'll work it out. All right. All right, so thanks everybody for your patience. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for supporting our next, again, Terry T turned it out. I just knew Terry was nice on the ones and twos. I didn't know he was also nice on the mic. Go ahead, T. Reverend Terry. Reverend. Well, our next speaker is also a reverend. She's a motivator. She's a podcast creator. She's a host of a podcast. Founder of Primrose Ave. Primrose Stukes is in the building. Give it up for Primrose, y'all. Give it up for Primrose.
So very honored to be here.
Welcome home, Primrose. It's like Big Mama house with your cousins.
You know. Cousin Bart, what's up, Cousin
What's
Bart?
going on, cuz? Good seeing you.
Oh, likewise.
And so, Primrose, we basically, you can start where you want to, but we like to start at the origin story. Where'd you start? Who are your people? How'd you get here? So where'd you start? Are you from here or are you from somewhere else?
I am from Baltimore.
Okay.
I was born and raised mainly in Baltimore. Like, I grew up in the system, the state of Maryland's foster care system.
Oh, wow.
So in and out of, I lived in Montgomery County, PG County, but mostly in Baltimore County, and then Baltimore City for the last 32 years. And your question was, what got me here?
Yeah. So Primrose, you said in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Did it start off as a baby in the system?
At 4 years old, was pulled from my mom's care because of neglect, and put into foster care system. The first foster home I can remember, like the lady whipping my brother with an extension cord to the point of putting a hole in his back. So me, my brother, and sister now, he's 3 years older. My sister's 2 years older, and at the time I'm 4. So we ran away.
Wow.
And I don't know where this was, and we ended up on this road, but it was some people, a woman and a man in a car. I don't know if it was a Cadillac, what kind of car it was, but I can remember being a 2-door, and we were on some old dark street, hilly type street, and they pulled over like, what are y'all doing out here? And they had it looked like they had been to Popeyes earlier that day or something. They had a bag with some Popeyes in it. Y'all hungry? What you think? The mind said it all, right? But then we ended up in a more permanent foster home that we stayed in for about 6 years over on Winston Avenue. And then from there it was like foster home to group home to group home to group home, back to foster home to group home to, me just saying F it, I'm out of here. Because I got tired of the abuse. And now the system didn't work very well for me, nor did the system work well for me and my siblings. We experienced a lot of abuse at the hands of the people who were supposed to care for us. We learned very early on that we weren't wanted. We were just there for the check and stuff like that. So we grew up believing that we had no place, like we weren't worthy of being loved, and nobody wanted us. That thing, really up until now has haunted me, and I've always felt that way, which is one of the things that's held me back with so many of the things that I wanted to pursue and the goals that I had in my mind. They were just ideas, but I was almost afraid to think them, or even put them on paper because I was not worthy of that. I wasn't worthy of the good. It was just, I was put here to survive, be mistreated, be misused, abused. And I really wasn't wanted here, so why make plans for the future?
The crazy part is, meeting you is the exact opposite energy that you give off. Meeting you give the energy of love. You are powerful. You're special. Look at the smile.
Yeah.
There's no way in meeting you would I feel that was that person.
Wow.
And so, man, take us. How the steps? Obviously, with all that baggage, all that pain, all that trauma, it took a lot of work. Where did the healing begin?
Around the age of like 19 or 20. I'm walking down, what's that, Utah? Where's Lexington Market? Is that Utah Street?
Oh, yeah.
And I had on it. Now back then, showing legs was sexy, back then. And I
still is. Let's don't get it twisted now. Wait a minute.
But that was our thing. We didn't, show so much.
Right.
But you showed some legs back in the day, and I had bought this this little yellow spandexy, like it wasn't spandex, it was a little cut off thing, but it was covered up here, but it was shorts, and I just was feeling my best.
Yes.
Looking my best, having those shoes, some bare feet on. Couldn't tell me nothing, and I'm walking down Utah Street, and in the background I can hear somebody calling, but they were saying different names: Lisa, Tiffany, Nicole. And so I keep walking because I know that's not my name. So finally, this young man, he must have said, wait a minute, I'm going to have to run to catch up, because I tend to walk fast. I used to anyway. And he caught up to me. And he said, don't I I know you? And I'm like, no. Ain't your name? No. And I never told her what my name was. But in that moment, it was like significant for me because I had an aha moment in that moment, and it was my name. No, I'm not Tiffany. No, I'm not Keisha. No, I'm not Lynn. I'm Primrose. Okay, now where do I go from here? One thing that I noticed about the women that were around me frequently, the women that I was raised by, the women that I happenstance upon, the women that I party with, they all poured from a seemingly very bitter cup. So in that moment, all this stuff started rushing into my head, and it was, Primrose, you're not those women, and you're going to make sure that you never become those women.
Come on.
So even though I came from a place of lacking when it comes to love, because I had never really experienced that. See, I was confused about love and, the molester, I do this because I love you. Parents coming to visit you, I love you, but then on the next visit they don't show up. So even coming from a place of lack, it was a determination to not be bitter and to show love in the hopes that it would be returned.
Come on now.
Come
on now.
That's where that came from.
And that feels like that's God. That's the universe. That's the loving universe. But wow. And so then what happened? I mean, that right there though. What a blessing, because I think some people don't turn that corner ever. Or they until they're old and bitter in their 80s and 90s. But the blessing that you got it early, even though you didn't even have the guidance. It's amazing.
It was just determination.
I love it.
And still navigating through, and actually by the time I got to about 19 or 20 was about the time when I realized I had choices, because I was literally living by default. In high school, if I had sex with a guy, it wasn't because I wanted to. I didn't even want to have sex. It was because he wanted to do it. I didn't have a choice, or at least that's what I believed at that time. And I can remember the first time just telling somebody, "How can I have sex with you?" It was powerful for me because I made a choice. I was no longer living by default, And
Hold on. Living by default. Let that simmer, y'all. Living by default. How many of us are living by default? Our mama, our daddy, our church, our kids, our husband, our wife, by default. Not your choices, not what you want to do, but because it's just there. Whew, go ahead, girl.
I see it every day.
Right.
I'm afraid to change because they live by what their grandmother told, and that might be good, but we're in a different time, so that information is probably antiquated.
And it's your life.
Right.
It's your life.
So
people
you
like
get
to
do it
blame.
how you do it.
Those same people will blame. They'll be bitching about their family. They'll be bitching about their mom, their dad, their aunt, their sister, their brother. It's your life.
Absolutely.
It's your life. Fuck them.
Right. Exactly.
It's your life.
Exactly.
You're not a child anymore.
Exactly.
I don't care what your big sister says. I don't care what your big brother says. I don't care what grandma said. Grandma, it's my life. It's not your life.
And that was a hard lesson for me as a parent, because when I became a mother at 16, I became pregnant by my son's father, who went to prison 6 months into my pregnancy and stayed there until March of, I think it was 2016. Then I had my daughter, and that's when my whole world really, really changed. That was when, it was like, okay, wait a minute. I have a girl. Now, when I had my son, it's not that he wasn't special, because he is, and he's a beautiful human being who I've had the opportunity to see become a man. He'll be 32 years old this year. But I had a daughter, and when I found out that I was pregnant with a girl, it was like, okay, I gotta be here for her. But life happens, I had a boyfriend who was from Jamaica, and the first thing he told me was, "You're beautiful, I love you. If you cheat on me, I'm gonna kill you. and I'm gonna teach you how to make money. Now this was before my daughter. This was after my son. I'm going to teach you how to make money because American women, the first thing they resort to when they don't have money is selling their bodies, and I don't want you to ever have to do that. So he got me involved into the coke game. I was going up and down the East Coast, carrying kilos, coming back on the train fucked up with kilos in the bag, and you would think it was just trash in that bag.
Wow.
Because I said, if I get caught, I don't want to cry. I would come through Penn Station, man, I see people get knocked off, and I'm walking through there fucked up.
Wow.
Because if I get caught, all I just said is I did not want to cry. And this was before I had my daughter. But fast forward a few years, I had my daughter. I was on my own. He got deported, and I was actually glad because he showed me it's crazy. I was actually glad, and I got back involved in the drug game myself because I'm all about survival. That's what I know how to do. I'm living in the projects. I'm paying $74 a month in O'Donnell Heights projects, which I didn't know was the project until this guy I was dating was like, he was like, this, you don't even realize you're in the projects when you get on the inside. I'm like, ugh. I didn't know what public housing was, but my foster mother had signed me up.
Wow.
And so I wound up, selling cocaine in my neighborhood. My next door neighbor, she would come over and she would buy it from me. She's deceased now, but she was like, I don't see how you just had it suffer. Don't smoke it. That same year, some stuff happened to my brother, violence in the city of Baltimore, that put him in a vegetative state. And as a family, we didn't understand what that meant. We thought it was the same thing as a coma. Oh, he has a chance to come out of it. And that year was just an odd year to me. I wound up starting to use first because somebody had taught me how to smoke coke and cigarettes. And then one day I just thought, why am I smoking a cigarette? Let me just go ahead and do it like my neighbor does it. And it wasn't until then that I realized, and it was that it's an addiction, it's a disease, and people don't want to get high. Not very many people. Okay, I've met a few people say, I would never want to be clean, and that's probably the toxic nature talking.
Yeah.
But for me, it was an escape. I was excluded from the world. And I was so ashamed of my addiction that I was telling people I had cancer because that would explain my weight loss. And then I was telling people that I had AIDS. I don't have AIDS. I'm not HIV positive, thank you, Lord, because I know I've dodged some bullets out there in these streets. But I fell into addiction, and I think it lasted about a year or so. And one day, out of desperation, I wanted some crack, and I was like, God, give me 2 weeks, 30 days, and I'd be done with this. And I really wasn't done. I just didn't have no money, And actually, about a month to the date that I said that, standing on the corner of O'Donnell and Gus Ryan, I got locked up. And I was held for 30 days exactly, September 11th, 1997.
Wow.
I was held for exactly 30 days, right? And for the first 4 days, I'm there like, I got to get out of here. I'm in there going, no, you don't know, but if you know what it is like to get high, I'm in there geeking, I want to get high, I want to get out of there. And then around the 4th day, the reality hit. You asked for this. So I made a pact with God, okay. And I was held because of a fight I had gotten into 3 years earlier. I never knew that the young lady had called the police on me, And so I had a warrant. That's what I was being held on.
Wow.
And in that 30 days, I got, the 9 days you spend in quarantine, and then they put me in the dorms, and I'm like, oh my God, is this what I'm, this, I don't want this life, And it was crazy because how you watch television and they have prison shows and, people buying, things for cigarettes and stuff like that. I thought that was made up stuff. And my first day out of quarantine into the dorm, I was a crackhead, but I still had diamonds and stuff in my ear. And the young lady was sending little Debbie cakes and cigarettes trying to buy my diamonds. And I'm like, what in the hell? And in that, now subtract 9 days from the 30 because I spent 9 in quarantine. So that's what, 21 more days? I saw people that were being released come back. I was in a dorm think about 40 or 50 of them. I might be exaggerating the number, but it was a lot, you know. And all I could say was, this is not my life. I do not want this. And while I was in quarantine, I made a pact with God, like, look, if I go and put a crack pipe in my mouth, take me right then and there. Because that is no life. I'm too brave for this shit.
Amen.
You know, even my feet lost weight. Anytime your shoes sliding off, you know. And 27 years ago, I haven't, and I had no desire. I tell people all the time, I said, there's two things I'm not going to be doing next year when I turn 50. I will not be driving school bus kids around, and I will not be smoking crack. Those are two things I know I'm not going to be doing.
That's an odd combination. That's an odd combination, but we understand.
I ain't messing with these kids. I ain't messing with these kids. I have a CDL, right? I don't even want the S on there no more. When I went back to get it because it was dropped. I don't want school bus because I ain't gonna do that ever. That I can assure you. Yeah, no sir.
Wow, what a life.
Yeah.
So you get out.
Yeah.
And you made these packs with God. You be making the packs, don't you?
Yeah.
You and God, y'all be putting it down.
Yeah.
So you haven't done the crack thing.
No
crack.
So
what got you on the? When you got out, what happened? What changed?
I came home and I was homeless. Apparently, one of my neighborhood crack friends was up in my place and was drawing attention to my house, and it's a violation of your contract, your lease in the projects if the police go into your raid. I've been caught up some house raids too, but it's a violation of your lease. So I was evicted. So I came out homeless, and the only person that I could get a hold of, at 2 o'clock in the morning when they released me from the courthouse here on North Avenue at 2 o'clock in the morning, had me there all day. My charges were, what was it, no price or whatever. So had me there all day and finally released me out to the streets at 2 o'clock in the morning. The only person that I could get a hold of at that time was, and I'm going to say his name, it's Harold. I don't know his last name, so can't nobody see me. If he alive and he's cracked himself to death, he knows who he's talking about. But he came and picked me up, and I told him, I said, look, I'm not getting high. I said, I'm calling you because I have nowhere to go. So he came and he got me. And sure enough, as soon as we went to his house, he must not have believed my commitment to, not going back to getting high. He said, well, come on, ride with me real quick. I said, okay. We get in the car. He gave me a $100 bill, ride me into an area which is called O'Donnell Heights. He said, get 10 pills. Now, mind you, when he used to come to my house, he never bought no damn 10 pills. So
he wasn't a big customer then.
Right. So he gives me the $100. And I'm like, this motherfucker, he don't believe me. But if anybody know anything about me, you know that once I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. My word is my bond. I'm very big on my word, and I don't care what I do, whatever sacrifices I have to make to keep my word, that's exactly what I'm going to do, right? So he take me up into the O'Donnell Heights. It was bad out there too, and I'm walking around in circles, and finally I run into the guy, I can't think of his name, but I've seen him in Heath's place, so I'm thankful for that. I said, look, can you go cop for me? Because I ain't even going to go cop. Can you go cop for me? I'll give you some. He said, sure. Man, I'm sitting in his house. It's in there smelling like a whole ass. And I'm sitting like, I'm just ready to get the hell up out of here, right? Finally, he comes back. Give me the stuff. Here you go. I pay him. I walk out. And then I'm walking in circles looking for Harold. Can't find Harold. Finally, I walk out to Gus Ryan and I see his car coming. Oh, he said, he was so happy to see me. I thought you had ripped me off. I said, no, I just kind of threw it at him. I'm disgusted at this point, right? We get back to his house, and in the back of my mind, all I'm thinking about is, where am I going from here? Where am I going from here? I don't have no home to go to. I don't have no, friends. Where am I going? So when I got out there, he get to smoking crack, and I'm looking at him, and I just want to get out there. So I made up something to get him out the house. He had a whole jar full of change and a little pocket knife. I emptied that jar full of change into something, and I walked. I walked to a payphone, and I called. I will always consider, I'm going to shout him out, Eric Cawthorne. I will always consider him a friend because I called him. I didn't even know where the hell I was at. But I swear it seemed like he got there in 10 minutes and got me. Didn't judge me. Nothing. Came pick me up. I literally. Shoestrings in my shoes. that day, because it's daylight now, took me, got me shoestrings, asked me what I needed. He didn't ask me, girl, what happened to you? He said, what do you need? Wow. He was about to marry a woman. He ain't like me, but I love both of y'all because your husband came and picked me up. He was somebody I used to deal with, and he's a friend. He didn't ask me no questions. He didn't shame me. He didn't make me feel terrible. He just asked me what I need. Took me, got my shoestrings, and it's just been, me going forward and upward ever since.
Ooh, Lord Jesus, girl. So who's gonna play you in the movie?
I've been thinking about that. I used to want to be Janet.
Okay, so give us. How have you ever found love? Have you found love? And you mentioned before when we first started, you were saying how now I get it. You were saying as one person, a part of your life, you felt like you didn't deserve certain things. Now you know that you do. What happened? Have you found love, or how have you gained a certain, I guess, point of view? Because a certain perspective. And this is important because so many people have been not in your exact situation, but when you're not shown love from those people who are supposed to show it to you, your parents, those people in your life, when you're not shown love, how do you figure out what love is, and then how do you love yourself? Learn to love yourself.
First, what I learned is that loving people are the people that are supposed to love me.
Loving people.
Loving people.
So if they ain't loving, they don't need to be in your life.
They will be. But again, if you're pouring from an empty cup, if you're pouring from trauma, if you're pouring from your experience, and this is what I had to learn. So for all the unloving people and the bitter people, women and men, that I've come across in my life, I have no reason to forgive them. They were who they were. They are who they are. They were who they were. If they changed, great. Right? But for the people that I thought should love me, what I realize now looking back, that they were pouring from an empty cup.
Right.
Right? So self-love is getting in tune with the divine within. Knowing that before all of this shit is covering up the infinite being, right? Get in touch with that. The infinite self.
Come on now.
The core of who I am. I ain't all that shit. I ain't the abused. I ain't the raped. I ain't the forgotten. I'm not the neglected. I'm not the abandoned. I am fucking Primrose. That's what my mother named me. I was born well, loving, loved, right? I just happened to run into a lot of unloved people who were not loving. They had no love to give. Or what they had expired by the time I got to them. Or it had not expired, but it had not surfaced. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get that. And that's okay, because of who I am and who I am made to be. I am divine, number one. And you're correct, I am powerful. I am beautiful, okay? And that's not outward. That comes from inside. So when I look at people and I say, you're so beautiful, it's the energy that permeates from them, right? And even if it's bad energy coming from them, I bounce love off of that. So I don't allow it to enter my atmosphere.
Yes.
The way that, because I have a choice, the way that it used to. I'm grown now, I'm an adult. That happened,
yes.
Just that, it happened. It ain't happening right now. What's happening right now? I'm sitting right here, Miss Eartha, Marc Clarke, one of my favorite people in the morning, for so many years. And yes, I was mad as hell when I wasn't there no more. Okay, big fella. So yes, I was mad as hell. But I get to be here.
Yes.
I don't have the past. I don't have the future. I have right now.
Come on, Primrose.
Yeah, I have right now. And this is lovely, lovely. I see beautiful faces, you know what I'm saying? Intent on loving me back. I was invited here, and I am welcome here. So I'm good right now.
Girl, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
Oh no, I did. I was looking raggedy. I went to work with a side bun. And yes, plug. I wanted to, look, if you hug me, if you notice my top was a little bit damp, I put it on just a second real quick. And said, put it dry. Like, this is the one I wanted to wear because this is the message, this is the energy that I promote. No bitterness. I am on a mission to end the bitter bitch movement, starting with myself. That's the mission. That's the mission. And it's not too late. It's not too late because there are all sorts of things that can cause bitterness in us. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you weren't raised in a loving home. You might be bitter because your parents weren't silver spoon, they didn't have a silver spoon in your mouth. You might be bitter, and ladies, and this is specifically for the ladies. Stop being mad at that girl in high school who slept with your boyfriend who's married 3 times over by now, and you married. Stop being mad at her. You'll see it and roll your eyes, but you'll see him like, oh yeah, he used to be in love. So on this journey, I'm still learning what love is.
Come on, Primrose.
That's what I'm doing right now. And I'm open for it. I ain't open for the bullshit.
Yes.
And I can see when it's not real. But you know what? The posture that I am in and the love that I have, and I ain't gonna call nobody out, but I know for a fact I have enemies that are behind my back for no good reason except they see my power.
Yeah.
I no longer deny it.
Yeah.
I stepped from behind this wall of fear, and I did not do that without intention and good intention, right? To save myself, number one, because I was in turmoil, because I'm holding on to all this. It wasn't for me, right? It's for them young ladies, 14 to 26 years old, before that bitterness sets in. Because see, when I think about it, I think about around the time I start living by default was about 14 because of the things that happened to me. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that things weren't happening between 14 and 26, but that's when I really start just like, I ain't loved, I ain't worthy, I'm doing what you want me to do. And I used to follow, and I love my big sister, but I used to follow behind her. She smoked, I would smoke.
Right.
She got a tattoo, I got a tattoo.
Yes.
She snorted dope, I snorted dope.
Yes.
And I had to distance myself because I realized that I was following her a lot of places that I didn't belong.
Yeah.
Right? So what I have is for those young women and for those women my age and older who are living with that bitterness. It is never too late to let that shit go.
You have to let it go. My mother was the youngest. She was the brownest one of the girls. Mm-hmm. My mother held on to that dark skin. Mm-hmm. She you know how it works. There were guys who wanted to get close to her just to get close to her sisters. And I'm talking about when she was in her 60s. Yeah. And she would be crushed. Yeah. But it's like, you got to let it go.
Yeah.
You got to let it go.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
That's their problem, not your problem.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like you said, many of us, we hold on to things. Former employees. Yeah. Employers.
Yeah.
Who let you go and you're making all that money. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. I mean, let me tell you, Primrose, you're something else.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're like what we need. Yeah. Our culture needs. Yeah. Because it's like so many people have been crushed. So many people have been so much drama that if we don't solve, so in other words, so you, like you said, you may or may not have even felt love. So if the answer was you can't fix it until you find love, then a lot of us would be effed up.
Right.
But you have cracked the code. Yeah. And what's the code? The code is it's inside you. God's within you. Whatever you believe in, universe, God, whatever, that's right here. Yeah. You don't have to go look for it. Right. Ain't no mystery. Ain't no you ask your religious grandma, and you don't understand it. You don't understand it. Your mind can't understand us.
Right.
It's right here. So it's right here.
Right.
You're made in the image of God. Yeah. Made in the image of Jesus. Yeah. You are God. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
I have the spirit.
And we're gonna be seeing people scared of that. Yeah. But no. But you figured it out, and that's what our people have to do, especially our women, because I have, my daughters have been raised perfectly, but I see the insecurity.
Yeah.
I see the lack of self-esteem. And it drives me crazy because I'm like, y'all got everything.
Right.
What about that sister that don't have nothing?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to survive?
Yeah.
And then now you look at boys, and now boys, who were raised by terrible mothers, now they hate women now.
Right.
So you got a whole generation. It used to be, at least Big Mama was there.
Right.
The worst situation, Big Mama. But now, now it's gone. So,
it's
thank you. I mean, you're so powerful. So talk to us about your motivation. So I get it. Okay. You got the podcast, and then talk to us about the motivational piece.
I have a saying.
Because I see you can see it. We see it on you.
And that's what people are intimidated by.
Yeah.
I don't shy away from it anymore. Because I will not die full. I will die empty.
Come on
because
now.
I would have given it all. Everything that I came to give, I'm giving it. Okay? But I have a saying. If you keep waiting to get your shit together, you're never going to get your shit together. So start with where you are, and you will find yourself, like if you have, and this is another thing, your desire, your commitment to grow, be better, because I want to be better, okay? Your commitment has to outweigh your desire, because you can have the desire, but you're not committed.
Yep.
Because you're fearful. I'm not going to be accepted. Nobody wants to hear me. Nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to see me. Nobody's going to give me nothing. Nobody's going to support me. They will. If you step from behind that wall, right? What are you doing? I'm getting my shit together.
Yep.
So I step from behind that wall. Please don't get it twisted. I don't want anybody to have this misconception that I have arrived. But see, the reason why I've arrived at the point that I am is because I need you just as much as you need me. And if you don't get your shit together, I might not never get my shit together. So if we all start getting our shit together, we're all moving in the same, how it's fish, what they call it, a school of fish. If we start moving like them schools of fish, what happens is they move downstream. The school gets larger and larger, right? And so now just think, you got all these fish getting their shit together.
Yes.
I'm not calling y'all fish sisters.
That's okay.
That was just funny to me in my head.
We call ourselves
Right. So if we are, that's powerful. Because if we're moving, you got a lot of people that's trying to move as individuals. Don't get it twisted. I'm not. That's why I'm stay connecting with people. And you never know the impact that you'll have onto people when you're out and about. So even when sisters display bitterness, I call myself the mobile mentor, right? Mm-hmm. I try not to let the opportunity of correction and wisdom pass me by when an opportunity presents itself, right? And so years later, I have young women who I have run back across and remembered, and they'll say things to me. It was the truth as I knew it, and it was in love when I gave it. And they would say, well, Aunt, because I had a lot of nieces and nephews that aren't really my nieces. They are my nieces and nephews, right? I grew up in their village.
That's right.
Aunt Primrose, you're the first person that told me this, or you're the first, you taught me how to be a lady. And I'm like, shit, I did that. Because I had limited information myself, but what I had, okay? In my mind, I was Alexis Currency, the black
Come on now.
Okay, I was classy, I was sassy, and I was fucking rich. Okay? And so, when I imparted, or I poured into women my age and younger, I would do so in love, no matter how I felt, and it's come back. When somebody said, "You help," and I am thankful that I did that because they needed that. So I need you. I can remember going to, because I like places like the Post. You can call me what you want. That's what 285. That's my spot because I feel safe there. You know what I'm saying? I do. I'm not really with the younger crowd. And I've always hung around the older crowd, right? And that's what made me see the older women, how they would look at me, right? Side eye, the little nice, nasty comments. And I'm just looking to them for guidance and wisdom. I wasn't up in their face trying to show my youth because I knew, well, it was a time at 25, I didn't think I was going to see that. I made no plans, you know. I wasn't going to live past 25, so I had college, fuck all that, you know. But, you know, having these experiences with these women, you know, who poured that bitterness into me, and I'm like, I would go home hurt, like, dang it. She could have gave me game, and I go back to my children's grandmother on the father's side. She's actually my son's grandmother, but they took on my daughter as their granddaughter, and I'm thankful for her, so I don't want anybody to get this twisted. But I can remember some years back, she's deceased now, and I love her, Joanne, I love her, because she was there for my children when I couldn't be. I was smoking crack, remember. But some years back, I was like, you know what, Joe? I said, I ain't trying to bring nothing up bad or nothing. I said, but can I ask you a question? What do you want, daughter-in-law? Because she was not, look, she was okay with me then, daughter. When she mad at me, you ain't my damn daughter. But when she, when we on good terms, what you want, daughter-in-law? I said, Joe, why didn't you like me? What did I do to you? I met her when I was 11. Now, I didn't like her son, and I was like, ew. He had a little apple head, and he was light-skinned. I like him as black as the top. And I wasn't interested in boys at 11, but he told me on the first day, you gonna marry, you gonna be my wife and have kids and be together forever. And I asked her, I said, why didn't you like me? And he talked about mental health. And I had a reservation, and I didn't trust her, but we were getting along, and she said to me, because you were always a pretty little petite black bitch with long hair. And my jaw literally dropped because I was waiting for something like, oh, because my son loved you, and I didn't want something more than,
right.
And everything she said I had nothing to do with. I couldn't have that. I had long hair, and at the time I had just, because I had shaved my hair bald about 5 times in my adult life, and at the time I had, you know, shaved my hair it was pretty short, and I was like, well, I'm bald-headed and fat now, so what do you think about me now, you know? And we had a laugh about it, but this is what I'm talking about, you know, that, to piggyback on what Terry was talking about, that mental health is so real, and it's so important. She became so bitter about something, and I can't tell you what that is. Her stories to tell, not mine. She can't tell them what she's going. But whatever it is, had her to dislike a child for no other reason than the complexion of their skin. The fact that, what was I not supposed to be petite at 11? And that I had long hair. That didn't make sense to me. And in that moment, I let go of any angst toward this woman. It was just love from then on. I love her.
Because you saw her damage. You saw her.
She had to be damaged to feel that way.
Yeah, that's some.
And what she must have gone through. So I don't hold you accountable for your trauma. But see, now once you get information that you can change, you are responsible for that information.
That's true.
So don't walk away from hearing and listening to good information and do absolutely nothing with it. Knowledge is only as powerful as its use. Right? So I feel for her. I felt for her in that moment. And I never will be that woman who will allow anything to make me bitter. And I'm learning. A couple of weeks ago, I had to think to myself, like, shit, you trying to really still figure out what love is, right? And so I'm not the most patient person. And patience is not love, if you believe what the Bible says, right? I can be unkind. And in the most of my moments, I choose to be kind because right beneath the surface of my skin, I got some hatred that was poured into me by the woman who raised me. Telling me I'm not one. I know how to say some nasty shit to somebody to hurt their feelings, right? But you know what happens when you say nasty shit to people? You're really saying it to yourself at the same time. It's coming out of your mouth, out of the depths of your soul, so it's in you. So you have to consciously choose. Take a breath if you have to. But the same way you can curse somebody from top to bottom and tell them what they ain't on the edge, you tell it to yourself. Stop doing that shit. You're doing yourself a disservice. So I have to learn in intimate spaces and places how to be nice. If y'all catch my drift without getting too deep on that subject. Right?
Yeah. No,
Some
that's true.
people I can't be, it's challenging for me to be, I can be kind to all of y'all. It's nothing y'all can do to make me be unkind to you. Because there's no intimate investment there. Right? But when a person I'm supposed to love is supposed to love me piss me off, I know how to be real nasty. Right? So I am learning, because I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to tell myself, I had a young lady at work that said, you came in here looking there. I said, hold on. Stop. I said, you have to stop that. I said, I don't look dead. I look tired. I am tired. Service was a good exhausting yesterday. Then I had another party the night before for a sister. So I am tired. So the next time you think to say that, I said, just tell me I don't look myself, which I already know, so I really don't need you to tell me that. I said, but do you realize something? When you tell me that, you're telling it to yourself. And she says, well, now that you put it that way.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so don't do that. No, I wanted to say it another way, but I said it in love because I command respect from you because I dish it out tenfold. I am very intentional about respect, you know what I'm saying, to people because I command that in return.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I love it. It's so, you've been amazing. Once again, it must be this damn building. every time you unexpected, you come in here, you know. And now here's the thing. I just want to say one thing. I will say, and you're absolutely right. We treat those that we're closest to, or that we're most intimate with, sometimes the most disrespectful.
Yes.
But the funny part about it is, not funny part. For me, it's easy for me when I'm met with that by people that I'm intimate with, because they're down turned off. I'm off.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get me anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't talk to me any kind of way.
Right.
Nobody can.
Right.
My wife, my mom.
Right.
Because you won't have me.
Right.
Because I don't stand for that.
Exactly.
And that's something else. If someone does talk to you that way, I don't give a damn who it is.
Right.
That's unacceptable. That's not that. I don't play that game. That whole, I was mad, I was tired,
Right.
I don't play that. You cannot talk to me that way, because this shit will be over.
Yeah.
And when you you mean it, not when you say it. People say it. Family members say it. No. I saw my mom. No. You talk to me crazy like that, I'm not in your life at all.
Right.
Because I love myself too much.
Exactly.
And it's not even hard.
Right.
Because that's what love is.
Yeah.
Love isn't not being, you can be mean. If somebody disrespects you, then they get what they get.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't care who you are.
Right.
And that's love. You know, but sometimes we don't know how to manage. But how can we watch your podcast or listen to your podcast?
Yes.
And how can we follow you?
Okay.
And I mean, again, you are amazing.
I appreciate that. That coming from you, that means a lot.
You are amazing.
My name is Primrose. It's spelled Primrose. However, all of my socials are spelled Primroze. And the AVE is an abbreviation of Avenue. That's where everything's happening for me. It's on Primrose Avenue. That's my brand. And the Z, the significance of the Z is that, and see how divinity, like the universe just works things out in your favor, because I wanted to use my name for socials. And I went on, I was able to do it on Facebook, but for Instagram, it was like unavailable. And it was like the nerve of somebody to be using my name, you know. And so I said, you know what, I'll just change that to Z. And as soon as I said that's what it should have been in the first place. Because this year, 2023, I stepped from behind the wall of fear, and I am gifted, right? I have a lot of skills, right? I'm an intelligent woman. I have my PhD in these streets, and now I'm getting my master's in life, right? And there are no letters behind my name except for the ones given to me at birth, right? And so that Z is the significance of the Z in my brand is that I'm exploring everything that is within and without me from A to Z that is for me and about me. Yes. So that's the significance of that. So all socials on Primrose Avenue, abbreviated AVE, and that's PRIMROZE, AVE. And on YouTube is where you can find my first season, my whole first season is uploaded on YouTube under the same handle. Everything about me is all roads lead to Primrose Ave. So get some information, get some love, hear my story, comment, talk back to me, let me know what's going on in your life. But that's where you can find me. You can find me out in these streets because I'm doing the work.
And also you can find her little birthday picture on here looking all, okay, Primrose Avenue, wait a minute, Primrose Avenue.
Yes.
Now, does anybody have any questions for Primrose? She's been amazing. Yes.
How you doing today?
Good evening, sir.
To ask you, I know you said you was in a foster care system.
Yes.
You and your mother and your brother ever come together after that? And would you say you're at a point of forgiveness? Because sometimes parents are going to come and say, like, you forgive her.
My mom, again, I have no reason to forgive her. She had choices in life, right? I am thankful for my mother because without her, I wouldn't be here. So I'm thankful that she didn't flush me down the toilet. And in spite of the fact that she was inconsistent in my childhood, right? She gave me what she had. See, I'm not here to tell my mother's story either, so I'm gonna limit what I say about my mom. But I love my mom. I love her life right now. How it is for her. I love her life for her. Okay? So I don't have anything to forgive her for. I have every reason to love her for, right? My oldest brother is deceased after being a vegetable for 16 years. He expired on my birthday, June 21st, 2012. My sister Carol and my older sister, we have a relationship, and our lives are on different planes and different ways, and I would be very excited if her and my mom would actually join that school of fish, because you see, I told you I'm about saving me. I cannot help anybody if I'm not helping myself first, right? So I'm joining the school of fish as it flows upstream to different opportunities to change. Water is life, right? So I'm in that big ocean. I say I'm the whole ocean, the entire ocean in one drop, And so I'm connecting myself to people who can help me along this journey to save myself. I need you, sis. Thank you.
285 Tuesday
Karaoke.
Sam will be there too, right, Sam?
I'd probably see Sam down there.
Any more questions for Primrose?
I want to talk more about your podcast.
Yes.
And the kind of content you cover.
Yes.
Podcast. What do you talk about?
Okay, the content, the whole reason behind the podcast was to bridge, number one, I have a co-host, her name's Michelle Gracie, she's not here tonight. But the podcast came about as me and this young lady who we worked together, we started working together in retail. I took on a job to I'm not gonna lie, get the discount. I lied, been shopping at the store for a long time. I swore I would never work retail because I would always get offer jobs in retail, oddly enough. I like talking to people. But we met in retail in White House Black Market, and we would talk all the time. And she was a young woman and, very unpolished. And now, look, I done learned some shit. I'm a little bit more of a lady now. So and we would have these conversations, and she was open and receptive. And over the years, we formed a bond, and we came up with this idea, like, you know what? This is something that needs to happen. We need to bridge the gap between the generations, right? Because ultimately, like I said, we need each other, right? I need you, right? You need me. The younger women need to stop looking at older women, oh, that old bitch. And the younger women the older women need to stop looking at the younger women, oh, that little young bitch. We need to say, look at that young lady. If she needs correction, give it to her. In love, right? And support each other. So that's how the content of the podcast is. We talk about various things that are happening in our lives currently, previously, but the goal is not to stay in what happened, but talk about what can happen as a result of women coming together, and to expose women to all different types of health and wellness options. We've had Reiki healers on the show. We have had a man, Dr. James Tisdale, on the show too, dope brother. We've had some wellness professionals in season 2, which will be next year. We're lining up to talk to more wellness professionals because, you might have a person who does not believe in a higher being, God, a creator, whatever, but they still need to be healed. They can't be walking around this earth unhealed. And feel about it however you feel about it, but I'm going to help them too, because I can't say that I'm walking in love, joy, and peace, and I'm not willing to expose everybody to that, right? So no matter what their religious, or I'm not going to say religious because I'm not a religious person. I'm not made of religion. I'm made of spirit, right? And that's what's harnessed underneath these flesh and bones, right? And so that's the content of the podcast. We talk about health and wellness. Sometimes we just talk. And some of those organic conversations that we didn't plan for, we just say, you know what, let's just talk tonight, have been some of the most fruitful, you know. So the content is to, number one, show that women of two different generations can get together, have conversations that are productive, fruitful, and help each other. That's what the content of the podcast is about.
What platform do you use?
For our podcast, we use YouTube. Yes. Yeah, we tried something. I was telling Mark when I first came, right, we didn't know the first thing about how to create a podcast. So the first season is us without our Spanx on. Not literally, but figuratively. You know, we showing out our cellulite in season 1. Like, you might have some episodes like in the first couple where there might be periods of silence. We didn't know anything about editing. After 12 episodes, I know a little bit more. I mean, it was down to the wire the day of the launch, which was April the 8th. Well, thank God for shout out my godson, Teddy Roseman, came through at the last minute, showed me how, no, I'm godmother, do this. And I was like, thank you. Because people were bailing on us. And people will do that when you tell them, hey, look, I have an extremely tight budget, and this is what I'm trying to do. And people who don't have that heart to give, they will set you up and then abandon for their support and abandon you at the last minute. And that's what happened. So I am learning how to edit and do some different things myself. We both learned. And so, but YouTube, we had some Apple, we had some Spotify, but we realized that YouTube was the best for us and where we were. But we eventually, that's where we at right now.
But I have to add this into how things will come back. So the reason Mark was here, guys, the reason why Mark was here is because long ago I told him that we need to meet him. He was like, you said, we all know he was on the Big Fat Morning Show, right? And this was way before people wanted to do podcasts and stuff like that. And like you said, sometimes things are so close to us that we don't even see it. So when he came back, he actually, and I think he's still trying to do it, create Mark Media.
Right.
So Mark Media would have the podcast. I told you I'm on the show, but I paid for my show. And there's other things or platforms, because what we need is not just to say, you know, are you on YouTube, are you on Radio 1, are you here, there, is to say, if we're going to be media, we need to try to put that in a form where it's impactful. Because I didn't even know her. I didn't know her. Salesperson came to me. They wanted to sell me a card machine where I could do credit debit, right? So as usual, I'm always on the phone. So somebody called me and he overheard me talking about this platform. He said, I got a great person, and I think she'll be great for the platform, right? Even when I called Primrose, she was like, I don't know who that person was. I can't remember his name. But the reason why I called her, because I was taking advantage of what I tried to keep. If somebody goes first to somebody, just like Alex, so we need to follow up on it. So that's why I have to not forget.
And
I followed up on it. So when she told me about her podcast, and I'm still going back to what I'm trying to get us to build with the whole tight knit. Yes. Mark is already been in media for that, right? So when we go down to the waterfront, I talked Charlie T into saying, how can we expand ourselves? Because like you said, if you come down to an economic component,
Right.
the economic component has to be strategically thought out. So we're going to use our wonderful person, Mark, here, and we're going to create Marc Clarke and the tight-knit family under the tent. So when people come underneath this tent, they get all of this. And not just media, because we have vendors over here. Akasa is over there. So we have people that have different types of platforms that we really haven't figured out how to impact ourselves, right? So my thing is that the message that we're all trying to get out, we know that we have opportunity,
Right.
whether we on podcasts, radio, whatever. What I would like the tight-knit family to understand my vision is we have to come under an umbrella.
Yeah.
So somebody just don't want to just see you because, you know, Tootie sitting over there, she may never sit in a chair, but she's just as important.
Yes.
She's just this, my sister, whatever. What happened when we did, Mark, is like you said, when you move, we all have to move. When you move, we all have to move. So we have to create this tight-knit mentality that this was wonderful meeting. Where were you? Like you said, where was she? But it's a shame, like I said, that if we didn't tighten up, we would have never got it.
Right.
And now that we have you and you get to know the rest of us, when you're talking about, and I love your history because we know a lot of people went through foster care.
Yep.
Even more important than Mark said, how do you take foster kid children and my rich kids, I'm going to say you rich, and my rich kids and make them think they ain't in the same world. So while I'm over here giving my kids all the love and they ain't never even had abuse, some of them won't even beat their children, and then you have this other person that's been beat to death and raped and whatever. How do we bring that together? We tighten up.
Yeah.
Because we should be able to not only to get people and put them in a foster institution, but we should be getting them and putting them into our homes.
Yeah.
Because we don't even go back and get some of the hurt. Like I said, where was your mother's sister? Where was your cousins? Where were all of these extended family members that we don't talk about that while we're in this situation where you're in an institution, and because we also are in a society that don't want to say that, hey, your niece should be your responsibility. Why didn't you go over there if the mother's on drugs or the father's incarcerated or whatever? So I like the way we're bringing this full circle. And this is, I think, a spiritual building. Because when we get in here, we'll be like, go back.
And he killed it. But I think, like you said, I think one of the things that, as a community, though, as you pointed out, I love what you're saying about the people that are pouring into you are empty.
Yeah.
I think that's something else that's kind of coming up as a recurrent theme. So it's almost like they can't help you. Those aunts, right? Those aunts and those uncles and those, because at the end of the day, if you have somebody in your family who's in dire need and you don't make any efforts to find out, then you ain't the one anyway. I can't make you care about your loved one.
And that's true. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because what I believe, it goes back to, think about this, right? We don't know who we are. We were taken from our homelands, enslaved, and our culture, we were denied our culture. So we don't know. Like, you ever heard the term, it takes a village? Where do you think that shit comes from? Where we come from. We just didn't know that. What did they teach us going in school? They taught, you remember them commercials? The African kids was always big belly hungry with snotty noses. That's all they showed us. So the fact that we were ripped from our culture and we don't know our culture is the biggest component to why we are in the state that we're in. That's why I'm in the system. My mother out here thugging and drugging, and my aunts ain't taking me in because they don't know no better. They've been 5, 6, 7 generations into an enslaved mentality. So they don't have a clue. So what we as a people really need to invest in is learning more about our culture so that we can get back to it. Because everybody's sitting in this room, right? In a few more years, we're not going to be here. But I know y'all got grandchildren. Some of y'all probably got great-grandchildren. And even if you did not biologically have a child, you were in a posture to be a father figure, a mother figure to somebody's child. So I believe the biggest component to that is getting back to our culture and just knowing who the fuck we are. So that the village can be stepping up as opposed to this separatist society that I got yours and I got mine and you go try to get yours. Good luck with that because I ain't got no help for you. Yeah. When did we start shaming people for needing a cup of sugar? Sometimes people need help. I don't know about you, but I need help sometimes. And it's no shame in asking for help. Now, I do have my opinions about people who always have their self in a posture to ask as opposed to give, because it's perpetual. Giving and taking is perpetual. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that's the biggest component. I ain't gonna go on and on.
Yeah.
I gotta say one more thing. You mentioned that when I met you. So with that, that's why we gotta have media. Because we have that component. We just had African Liberation Day, remember I told you?
Yes, yes.
We have Race First Philosophy.
Yes.
We have Mama Edna, I don't know if she's still here, she's in the room. So, and we have that Mama in the room. So we have all this culture, people here.
Yes.
And what we have to do is we have to become the we. So like you said, we have to invest in that. So when we see that the cure, like you said, for our mental health is there, and we have to be able to embrace it and make it even more powerful. Because I think not only do we know our history, because a lot of times I see so many people that know what happened to us, but for us to be able to know what to do is like you got a COVID. Do you know how to cure yourself? It's like a hard task. And another thing I like about doing the whole tightening atmosphere is we still have natural abilities. A lot of things we didn't have to go to school for. I think the institutional schools were built because white people stole everything, so they had to actually learn it. So we have naturally gifted people. You see that all the time. And we have to get back to sometimes not taking the pressure off of people that may feel like they gotta pay the rent and they gotta do this, and you have worked 8 hours a day. So a lot of us that want to give out of our natural talents and be able to build on that are distracted from the human world of being able to say, how do I leave my job?
Right.
How do I keep the big house, Mark?
Right.
How do I put the gas in the car?
Right.
And then you want me to do what?
Yeah.
So I think again, when we keep building this platform that we have, and I think Terry T said it, if we can get people to stay in their lane and do what they do, we'd be moving faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, because we got too many people that can't do what they want to do.
Right.
You can't wake up and say, you know what? Oh, I love it. I love the fellow back there, that young man that came, and he was interviewed. So we asked him what he wanted to do. He said, I don't know. I'm just telling you right now, I don't know what to do. We would normally say, you gotta be, you gotta do, you just grab it. But it was such an embraceful thing that everybody said, you know what, come back up here. You should be trying to chill, trying to figure out. But society doesn't want us to do that.
They want us to be worried and anxious.
All our kids gotta be 18 to get out of the house. You can't wait till you're 18 to get out. Can't wait till you're 18 to get out. And then why do we have to go to college? Because that's the plan. The plan is high school, college. And then when I get out of college, why I gotta get a job? Because that's the plan. High school, college, job.
Right.
Why I gotta get married? Because that's the plan. High school, college, job. Why I gotta have kids? 'Cause that's the plan. So we got all of these plans, Mark, and still like you said, maybe the natural thing for us to do, especially like you or us to have children, is to love our kids. And be like, okay, I don't know what is gonna happen, but the village is still here if you want to come back to the village, we're still in the village. And then the kid finds out what they're supposed to do to keep the village alive. They have to find their contribution. But when we make our children feel like they got to get out of the village, and they can't even come back home. Because, you know, I'm trying to pay bills and I got to pay you. This is so crazy.
I get it. I totally get it. How to be a part of the village. They need to learn that.
Grandma Edna.
Oh, good.
I'm learning and studying Sister Wisdom, and I just think that we need to retire. We need to retire words that we know systematically don't work. I just think a word like unity doesn't work. It's a novelty word. So it should be treated like it is. I think we ought to learn new words too. I incubate. I do public healing in the street in the park. I did one last Monday. One day rain on me. So I just think that our people are suffering from novelty living. They're stuck. But they don't realize that there is a space in your life, everybody like this room, to fall down. It's a space to fall down. But what people forget is that when you driving down the street in your big car, when you sit in the restaurant eating all that expensive food, there's an alley. You know, people say stay on the straight path, stay on the winding road. But guess what? For everyone in this room, just put yourself somewhere and just remember, there is an alley adjacent to every street, every house, everywhere you go. that you can fall down in. The issue is, do you walk through the alley and see someone falling down, laying down, or do you go tell somebody that's somebody in the alley that needs help? So I think that when we redevelop ourselves and get these novelty things out of our way, because everybody is so great to say white privilege, but there's a lot of black privilege going on too. So it's a lot of black people that think they're privileged, think they're here and there, but as long as you keep a basic step with that incubator, because the first thing happens when a newborn baby is done, they incubate the outside living to the temperature of the newborn body so the newborn baby can survive. So this is just me, this is what I teach. I just teach novelty words, hold our people back. People like words, we, if, that. They're novelty words. You need to relax them and get building blocks. So just everybody in the room, when y'all leave the day, look around yourself as you driving home, walking home, catching the bus. I guarantee you there's an alley adjacent to wherever you are. And trust me, it's there so somebody can fall down on the Creator's good earth. There's space for everybody to lay down. It's when you choose it or where it meets you at. And there's space in your life for you to fall down. And I just like to listen to people because conversation is so convertible. It's like when you turn down a convertible top in a car. Conversation now is so convertible because people just don't take it under the conversation. It feels good together to talk. It feels good to talk. But when you leave a good conversation, what do you feel about what you heard, what you participated in, and what you plan to take care of after you? So I just tell people that drive you got, I remember there's an alley over there. Anybody can lay down?
All right. So once again, Primrose. Y'all give it up for Primrose. Also give it up for Terry T. Also, Terry T. did a great job. Give it up for yourselves. Tighten it in the house. Give it up for Tighten It. Also, make sure you support all our vendors. They're here.
Oh, one more since I got all the Tighten It family here. So we're going to do a fundraiser because as you see, there's a lot of things that we need. So my idea, but y'all can add to it, everybody's always busy, everybody always got 10,000 things to do. So it's going to be like a